Hi, my name is Kathleen Elliott, and I am here to talk to you guys about, get the screen up. One second here, guys. Sorry, just a minor difficulty here. Here we go. Hi guys, my name is Kathleen Elliott, and I'm here to talk to you about my animation, See-Through, as well as the cause of floaters and some tips for being an active seer. So to start off, if you guys haven't already looked around the virtual gallery, you should, not like right now, but after the talks. And there you're going to find lots of amazing works, as well as you're going to see my animation See-Through. It's only 30 seconds long, so in case you haven't seen it, I'm just going to show it here to you guys now. So what are floaters? And not to go too much into the ooey gooiness, because I know some people are weird with eye stuff, but they're shadows. And they appear on your retina, which is right there. They're caused by microscopic fibers that gather together and become large enough for us to notice. So you don't have to worry about them. They naturally occur and they're not going to harm you in any way. Back in 2018, I animated See-Through, and what really inspired me was long drives through dense fog. I started considering how intimate and individualistic each of those swimmy little dancers are. And although it might seem kind of odd to pull your focus to this kind of like moment in human physiology, I find that 2020 is the perfect year to draw attention to these things that both bring us together and are individually focused on our perspectives.
Hi, Kat. Sorry to interrupt you there. Could you stop your screen share and start it? We're not seeing what you're looking at.
No? Okay. Let me try again. Are we seeing it now?
Yeah, right now it looks like we're, I can see some motion there. I don't know if anybody else can.
Now it is, but is it now? When I go over to this page here?
No, that's not the correct feed.
Okay, let me just stop sharing and let's go to this option here. How about now?
Yeah, that's
yes.
better.
There it is.
That's
okay. Has it been like this whole time that I've been talking?
I was wondering, you were explaining a lot about that. Anyways, I'll sign off. Thank you.
Yeah, maybe if you go back and run your little your floater video again.
Yeah, I can just do a quick little go over all that there. Okay, let's see if we can get this guy going. Okay. I'll just do a quick little recap of what I was showing. So this is the animation. You should be able to see it there now. Sorry about that issue, guys. And so, like I was saying, floaters are little shadows that show up on the retina. So, like I said, after animating it, I had kind of no idea where it was going to really build up to, but staring at blankets of fog like this really brought them to my attention. And fog is really similar to screens in the way that, like, you just need to stare at something light and bright. And like everyone now who's staring at the screens, I'm sure after a while you can kind of start to see them as you allow your focus to kind of drift away from what you're really looking at and stop seeing, but just kind of generally looking. So for me, creating see-through was really about focusing and reminding on the filters that we look through and the way that we perceive our world. So once you've seen your floaters, it's so much easier to see them the next time you look for them. And I use that as a cue to remind myself to stop kind of daydreaming and get back into what am I looking at. Because obviously, if you're seeing your floaters, you're not paying attention to the meeting you're in or the article you're supposed to be reading or even just like your Instagram feed. Which brings me to my first point is you need to find a way to catch your own attention. So you're not just scrolling, but actively paying attention and being critical to what you're consuming. Asking yourself questions like, why am I seeing this? Who is it targeting? And what are they trying to say to me? And if the answer is, well, I clicked on this video because I like cats and the algorithm knows that I like cats, and it's saying, this is a sweet little baby kitten and look at its sweet little baby beans. And if this is the kind of content that you want to see, keep scrolling, like you're doing all right. But if you find that you're looking at videos or you're listening to podcasts and there's people who are angry and they are yelling, what are they trying to say to you? Are you just kind of listening to this in the background while you daydream? What are they angry about? And if you don't know, it's probably a good time to check in. Make a conscious effort to see what's going on. And if you don't like the content, then you've learned a little bit more about yourself. And if you want to take it one step further, really mull it over. Like, what about this content didn't you like? And why do you keep seeing it? It's just really focusing on the idea that your attention is important and everyone wants a bit of your attention, and who you give that to makes a big difference in the world. So the second part I want to get into is active seeing in the real world. And I can really only speak for myself, but I imagine I'm not alone in saying that it's kind of weird, just like going out in the world. And I don't just mean like going to the stores where we like worship the lines of tape in the grocery store, but just walking down the street. And I find that I got my headphones in, I'm listening to CBC radio, maybe like a little Jessie Reyes, and it's just la la land. I'm not really seeing the mushrooms on my neighbor's lawn, or I'm not paying attention to like the kids zooming by on their scooters. And like, I don't know if they're wearing helmets. I can't see that because I'm not really seeing. And it's easy to get used to this flat view of the world that we've kind of become accustomed to now, but making that conscious effort to see the world around us and appreciate the way it is, or if there's things we don't like, change the way that they are, which sounds like a big feat, but it really just starts with active seeing. So the things that I'm suggesting that you guys do, and whether it be in a gallery or just walking around the streets, is to notice your perspective. Understand what's informing your perspective, and then go out and see the world. Your perspective is never going to be wrong, but it is always changing with the things that you learn and the things that you experience. And we've all experienced quite a lot this year. It's time to stop just looking at the world and start really seeing it. Obviously, one of the best ways to do this is to stay active, and that's active in your seeing, active in your lifestyle, and just staying engaged with the world around you. So thank you guys for coming. Wilaluk. And if you want to know more about my art practice, here's my website and my Instagram pages. Thanks.
So are there any questions for Kat? Kat, can you stop your screen sharing, please?
Yeah. Trying to find that little guy.
He's down on the bottom somewhere.
Yeah.
I've got you as stopped already.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't get to do an intro of Kat there, but Kat is a Micmac artist, a recent visual arts graduate from MUN's Grenfell campus. And she's exhibited at the Rotary Arts Centre in Corner Brook, Art Mirror in Montreal, Gatehouse Gallery in Harlow, England, Her work is part of the Memorial University Permanent Collection at Harlow Campus in Sussex, UK. She's a 2020 recipient of the Reginald Shepard and Helen Parsons Shepard Award for the pursuit of personal passion in visual arts. Evidently, you tie art and living together very closely. Could you maybe expand a little more on that theme, Kat?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think that you can really, get the camera going. I don't think that you can really separate art and the real world because both are just evolving and changing together. The way that I see the world might be different, or it's definitely different than the way other people do. But the small, intimate moments are shared amongst everyone, and that's what I like to highlight in my art, is those intimate moments that we share, and those intimate moments happen every day in real life, no matter where you are.
Okay, any questions from the audience? Okay, we'll move along then. Next up is Janice Hurtle. Janice has lived in Newfoundland for over a decade. She calls Portugal Cove her home now. Her digital art career highlights include working on video games and films. She completed a Bachelor of Fine Arts at Virginia Commonwealth University, Masters of Fine Arts at James Madison University, and B.Ed at Memorial University, and studied 3D digital animation at Seneca College. She's worked in museums, galleries, and as a post-secondary educator in the United States and Canada. And Janice will be talking about some of the animation work that she's displaying in the gallery. So, Janice, you're up.
Hello? Okay, can you see and hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I did create a PowerPoint here, and I'm going to share my screen so I can talk while I show it. And there is some animation that did show on the PowerPoint, but I think in order to hear the music that goes along with the videos that I made, you probably have to go to the YouTube channel and watch it, because I'm not figuring out how to get the music to play and then not lose my audio as I'm talking. So we'll just look at least we'll look at the animation video, okay? Okay, I'm just going to start my slideshow here and then share my screen. Okay, can everyone see that okay there, John? All right, so first I'll just go over a brief journey as an artist with a little bit of background, and then I'll talk about my unscripted 2020 work, and I am going to make some reference to what I did last year as well, because so you could see kind of the growth or what I've been up to and how COVID has affected my work. So briefly, going way back, I did a BFA and an MFA in fine art, and I'll just show a few examples of how, you know, I always loved landscapes and drawing. Actually, that drawing on the right, I'm just noticing now, it's got like a view of a bay and some, you know, some mountains in the distance and the water. That was in Anglesey, Wales, but it does remind me of Newfoundland and the kind of photographs I've been taking recently. So I guess going way back, I've always been interested in those types of landscapes. Here's just some examples: realistic drawing with pencil. Really love going to art museums and inspired by art history and nature. Figure drawing. On the left would be more like a live model sitting, a drawing that I might have done in a few minutes. And on the right would be how I start a sketch to make something like concept art, a character in a pose. Some photography, going back, some black and white that I did, and then made screen prints based on the photography. And I want to get more into that in the coming year. Sculptures in metal and mixed media elements with photos. With that one on the right has a black and white photo in the middle, kind of handmade frames as well that I like to do. And I always like to explore various mediums and mix things up. So this comes from a larger piece. It's a detail, and it layers photography, like a self-portrait, with some printouts that were on Mylar and some painting that was on Plexi. And that was in a show that I had, mixed media. So I was always involving photography in my fine art anyway, even way back. I'm not going to say how long ago, but very long ago. And even sculpture with lighting and Plexi and photographs were in there as well. And I learned digital art, 3D animation, worked in the entertainment industry, worked on video games and movies since 2001 as a digital artist, 3D animation, modeling, game design, level design, all those fun things. And here's just like a smattering of projects that I worked on. I was really lucky to have a lot of different opportunities while I was working in the industry on various platforms, a couple of Harry Potter movies, IMAX 3D, Toy Story 3 game. I even got to go visit Emeryville, California, go to the Pixar studio to see a pre-screening of Toy Story 3 before it came out. That was a big career highlight. And I also did 3D laser scanning and worked for museums and galleries on digitizing point clouds and then manipulating them in 3D. Okay, so getting to last year's Unscripted, part of what I displayed was pixel art made from my own photos. The pixel art part is kind of inspired by my work on video games. So I'm just like swirling everything, all my experiences into some of my art. So you'll see that those are images from last year. You see how colorful and full they are. Like every pixel is, there's not much negative space really. There's like a lot of content in every pixel there. That was a photograph of an iceberg from last year. Okay, and the reason I'm showing you these as well is to show you how it's changed because of COVID. So I was reemerged to, or I was inspired to reemerge as a fine artist. That was like last year, and then I've been working on it all year. And last year I had this painting as well with the art on the wall and the augmented reality that was over top of it. So how did the pandemic and isolation affect my art? And the new pixel art that I've been making is still based on photography, is still based on, you know, kind of like landscapes and seascapes and a view of an island from a distance. You're still seeing some of those themes, but there's a very different look. You can see at the bottom image there, it still has some similar views of the same places, but you can see the difference. It's turned into pixel art. The top one is last year, bottom one is this year. But it's more of a minimal color palette, more abstracted, still using the pixel art as the base and the photograph as the base of what I'm starting out with. But I manipulated it a lot more, took more artistic license, did some more painting on top of it rather than just like turning it into pixels and maybe a little bit of touch up in the pixel art. The more minimal composition, more negative space, just having this more disconnected feeling, which I think was showing, and a bit more fragmented. Although there's, you know, still series of pixels on the page, it kind of shows the fragmented feeling that you can get with that medium, I think more this time. So here, and then I created a video because I feel like the still images would be more like something I would print and put on the wall that you go in person and go to the gallery. So I was like, how do I present this in the online format? And I decided to take these series of drawings and make videos out of them instead of just presenting them. But I do plan on printing them and hopefully presenting them in a gallery wall format too. So here's one of the videos, and there's some music to this, which if you go to the the link in the artist gallery. You can hear it with the music, but I don't want to mess up the audio for my presentation and try to get that playing right now. So I just put the animated GIF in there without music. So I was really missing family members as I was creating all of these and working on not only the art for this, plus the heaviest time frame is like September in my day job. And then my family members canceled their trip to Newfoundland to see me this summer in August when they were supposed to see me. And I was really, you know, sad that I didn't get to see my sister and brother-in-law this summer. And then while I was still working on this, I found out that they all got COVID, and I was really stressed out about it and losing sleep. And I still had like a lot of work on my plate because it was the busiest time at work. It was busy for me with my art, having 2 festivals this same weekend with CV Nui and Unscripted, and also the stress of like not sleeping and worrying about family members. So that tension, it like did change my art. So even though you see on the right, I had already started working on this pixel art, you know, then I started to invert the pixel art to black and flip it horizontally and just stretching the feeling of distance when the prints are hanging together. I created the video. This one, this is just the video of it. The transitions express the seemingly endless loop of isolation from day to night, day to night. It's like this, I should have actually looped it even longer. That I just, sometimes I like to make really short videos, so it's not very long. But this could go on for hours, just looped like that, and that's kind of expresses the feeling and even the distortion in the video transition effect. It just like distorted feeling. Day became night. I shut myself in my studio and on my computer, working away with the windows and the curtains shut, and just lack of sleep, tension, stress, nightmares. When will this end? And that was what that video expresses. And when you listen to it with the music that I chose, this little clip from an open source Creative Commons licensed song, that I just picked out the little clip part that was really expressed that tension and stress that go, and then I edited the video to go along with the rhythm as well. I don't know if you probably can't hear that, but okay, you have to go to YouTube to hear that. So let me stop sharing my screen now. And I don't know how we're doing for time there, but is there time for any questions, or how are we doing? John?
Yes, there is time for questions. So any questions for Janice?
Or if no one else does, do you have any, John? Because you kind of know my work and we've been in touch since we met last year at Unscripted.
Well, have you given, you mentioned about having your video loop a number of times. Have you given any thought to actually building in a real time function to it? So for every additional day, you get 1 extra day of looping?
That's a cool idea. Like I would have to repost the video every day and it would be a different link. But if if it was displayed on my website, that's something that could work.
Yeah.
Cool.
How do you see differences or the influence of your work on animation for movies or games and what you're doing in your art now?
Well, because because after learning and doing fine art and playing with Photoshop on my own, and then going back to school for learning how to use those tools, a lot of it has to do with knowing how to use the tools, but also working on movies and games and art for those movies and games. You just increase your vocabulary also for things like, I knew about composition before, but now more of like interactive composition and the idea of the viewer more as a player or a user. I know that sounds bad, but in terms of software development and game development, we're thinking about, we're designing for the players and the interaction. It's not just fine art, where fine art, I used to look at it more as I'm just expressing myself. Here it is. Maybe you could see there's a bit of interaction in the viewer's mind because they see it and they interpret it, but that can be a lot stronger or more obvious connection when you're making like interactive, based on what I've learned working in video games, or just more of a cinematography knowledge and approach to videos and transitions and music and things like that.
Okay, one last question. I noticed in the list of, I'll call them tools that you use to produce your work, one of them was an open source package by the name of GIMP. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking that it may not be as much of a barrier now for some people to get in. Like Photoshop is very, very expensive.
Yeah.
And though with the subscription model, not necessarily so much. How do you find the open source tools, which have a lower entry barrier to use? Are they suitable for somebody who's starting out and wants to be able to do lots of things?
Definitely. There's so many great open source software out there now. And it didn't used to be like in the past. There were a few, but they've gotten much better. They've gotten more support, bigger teams working on them and supporting features, and not only GIMP, but some of the other ones as well. I find it's really great. Sometimes I miss something. There's like some little effect I did in Photoshop I can't find in GIMP, but in general, maybe, I don't know, personally, I don't know if it's better for entry level because I started out with the, Adobe and other products. So, but I do feel like they're probably easy to use and pretty approachable, and just, get started. You can find videos and tutorials, and I think it's a good tool.
Okay, so shall we move along to our next presenter? Our next artist is Dominic Hurley. Dominic is an intuitive visionary artist who lived on 3 continents and in 5 provinces before calling St. John's home in 2011. Grounded in her love of beauty and the beauty of love, Dominic inspires through energy-infused paintings, photography, video productions, intuitive exercises, guided meditations, presentations, interactive workshops, and writings. Dominic.
Hi. Give me a thumbs up just so you know, so I know that you can hear me, John. Yeah, great, wonderful. I see that we have some participants, and I know that we're live also on Facebook, and so I just want to take a moment to connect to everyone who's listening now or to the recording afterwards. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you to the other artists for sharing. I'm honored to be amongst you, and I learned a lot. And it flows nicely from one to the other. I'm an intuitive visionary artist, and my background is mostly in painting, which you can see an example here in the back of me here. And this one's called The Journey All the Way Home to Myself. And I'm going to talk about it in a bit, because understanding my background in layering intuitive painting, which means that basically it's layer by layer by layer without ever knowing what the painting is going to become as you start. So that's one way that I paint. It's just about the expression and the feeling and the energy healing that I do while I'm painting. And then there's also the visionary art, which I will explain as well, which is more receiving visions and translating that onto canvas. So I usually paint more what I sense and feel and see with my eyes closed than I do with my eyes open, which is actually a real challenge, because this week I'm also going, or next week, or the week coming, basically, I'm the Newfoundland representative for the Atlantic Visual Arts Festival based out of Caraquet, Fava. It's mostly francophone, but it's bilingual. And they're doing an Atlantic sketch for their online version this year. And so I'll be sketching out in Kitty Vitty every day. And I haven't sketched in 6 years, observational, what I see with my eyes open. So I admire anyone like what Janice was showing us of her work with what you can, drawing what you actually see. So that'll be great to explore. So if you think I'm going to start my screen share here to sort of the first painting. I just want to show you how the process of layers influencing the other. So when I do intuitive painting, it's very much this piece here behind you is to balance the chakras. And so for the chakra balancing, I'm going to start my screen share because you'll see it evolve. Share screen. And then start slideshow. What you're seeing is layers of color. Chakras are energy centers. And I'm just going to see, give me a thumbs up that you're seeing this, John. My screen share. Okay. And basically you're seeing the colors and the whole process of working on the chakras. And so there were words and colors for each chakra. And this is like a 6 by 4 foot painting. This is the final painting here. And what you're seeing is also the labyrinth. It was a summary of 5 different labyrinth paintings as I was walking once a week, a big Chartres style labyrinth as part of a daily meditation or a meditation practice. And each time I would come out with a painting of a different feeling that I was getting from that. And this is sort of the summary of putting them all together inside of the Tree of Life. So that same layered approach as you see a painting evolve is also how I do with the divine storytelling time, which is the 8 of the pieces that are in the show at Unscripted, the digital art, not these ones here. This is, I want to explain the divine storytelling time, intuitive readings, just to give you an idea of what inspired those 8 pieces. And this collection here of paintings are called the 12 Universal Laws. And many people are familiar with this one here, which is the law of attraction because of the movie and the book, The Secret. Basically, if you're in a really happy, high vibration, you attract more of that stuff into your life. Whereas if you're, down in the dumps and you're just caught in the negativity and the complaining and just in that low vibration and you're not doing anything to raise your consciousness and vibration, then you're just attracting more of that negativity into your life. We're a magnet to the same as what we are. And I understood that law because it had been made so popular, but I didn't know the others. And so when my guidance, my intuition basically asked me to paint these 12 mandalas for the 12 laws, what I did is I would close my eyes and I would ask for guidance to understand the law. And when I do that, it comes in like a dream sequence, or in this world, you might understand more. It's like seeing with my eyes closed a Disney Pixar movie coming through. And so I would record that story on my voice memo. And for these, they're about 12 to 15 minutes each, and you can hear them all in the free resources of my website under the Guide to the Intuitive Laws. And as I was painting, for example, the second one's the only one that I calculated the time on. It took me 75 hours to paint. I would be working with the symbolism that came through during that little dream sequence, what I call my divine storytelling times. And through that painting and working with the symbolism, I would open myself up to receiving layers of meaning, layers of interpretation. I would understand the law more. I would write about it, blog about it, and show also the evolution of the painting in my blog. And then it was a teaching tool for me that I've now used to help others on their path of personal and spiritual growth. So it's about nourishing people's transformational journeys. So that's my background in the painting and how I use painting for my own wellness and also to help my clients and those who are attracted to my work. When it comes to the digital art, which is the same, it's layered photography this time. I work with clients on an intuitive reading that I call the Divine Storytelling Time package. And for them, when I tune into guidance for them, I download, it's about an hour, their story that I record for them. So they get that 1 hour story. But then they also get, I decided to create, being a visual artist, I wanted to create a visual bonus to go with this package for my clients. I don't interpret the movies for them. It's about empowering them to tune into their intuition. And so with the symbolism, it's full of symbolism. It's like when you wake up from a dream, you don't necessarily know what it means unless you reflect on it and journal about it while it's still fresh in your mind. So as my clients listen to these stories, they're unveiling the meaning. And if they come in with a specific issue in their life on that day, because they can use them for like years, some people use them for weeks, months, years, until they resolve whatever it is they're working on in their life, then different parts of the story will catch their attention. When I finish channeling that 1 hour recording story for them, what I'm drawn to do is go into my collection of photography, digital photography from all around the world, that I store everything on Flickr. And I pull images that resonate and that I'm guided to, that relate to the story. And then I put them together in Photoshop in a layered way and blend them together using Photoshop's different blending modes. And I just keep playing for 3-4 hours until I get something that's visually appealing. So let's take a look at an example that you have in the gallery, but let's look at the different layers. And so here, I don't know if you're seeing that black bar from Zoom, you've got, these are from Hawaii. It was a moth to a flame, and then at the Peace Garden, the stupa in the middle of trees, and then this angel. So this is just 3 layers, symbolism that really resonated. And then I put those together with an affirmation. And when I email this to my clients, they have both the one with the affirmation and one that has no words on it, so that they can print it to whatever size or use it however they want. So if you take a look at this one, you see obviously the angel that was that last photo. But if you look here in the middle, the symbolism is still there of the stupa and the trees. And here on her left shoulder, or his left shoulder, you have the moth and the light. And the way that the different layers blend, I keep blending them in ways that affect the colors, that affect the contrast, that brings up the visual symbolism that will inspire. But also I believe that energetically, the places that I photographed and the symbolism in the photographs and everything that went into a piece of art, whether it be a painting like the one behind me, that you can't see all those words and symbolisms and all that anymore. You just see the outside code of it, but everything informs the energy of the piece. So as my clients have this, it's a custom piece of work for them, so they're not for sale for other people. Then they have this to remind them of their story, but also to keep nourishing them on their path. So let's take a look at another example. And just take a look at the layers and then try to find these by yourself in the final layer. There's 5 layers in this next one. This one here was Joan's visual gift. Let's look at Amelia's. Oh, and it's not moving ahead. Something has changed. Let's try it down here then. Yes, okay. Layer 2. Layer 3, layer 4. These are tourists in Vienna, but I did a pan photography. This is all in camera. Layer 5, the canoe, an early morning. And so sometimes I always let the client know where their photographs were taken so that they can tune into that, because that sometimes has meaning. I had a client who all of her images were from New Brunswick. And as soon as she knew that, there was this layer of relief that came upon her, because she had just decided, unbeknownst to me, to move to New Brunswick with her family as a single mother. And she was starting to get some doubts. And, you know, when you make a major decision, wondering if it was really the right thing to do and obstacles coming up or whatever was happening. And as soon as she got this package, it was like instant relief, confirmation that she was on the right track. And so we get guidance through all of our senses, visual, knowing, sentience, all of them, clairaudience. And so I work with some of those. And if you can see here, there's a lot of symbolism, even if you don't see it. To me, this water drop creates sort of like a vortex and a hole to go into the future. You've got the path, and you've got people on the path, people beside the path as you're journeying forward on the canoe. And this was from a mix of the clouds and the water. It almost looks like an eye and a face, but all of these arches, you know, into the future where the light is coming from. So with the different blending modes, achieving that color, achieving the visual symbolism that I'm interested. So I'm going to get you guys to do, there's a little challenge. I challenge you to participate in the chat. I won't be able to see your answers. You're just doing it for yourselves until I get back onto the main screen. If you take in the chat, I'm going to show you the final image, and I want you to try to see what kind of symbolism you see in there. So type anything that you see, because it's all obvious to me, but maybe not to first viewers. But it'll also help you slow down and be more mindful, like Kat was talking. So just stare at this image a little bit, and there's 5 layers in here. Type in the chat some of the places or objects or things that you see. And if you're not into the detail, just also you can type the feeling that it's giving you. What sort of message is it giving you? I'm just going to give you 1 minute to do that as you really look deeply. Hopefully you're on a big screen computer, although if you make it bigger, maybe on your phone, you can also see some of the details. I'm sure you can pinpoint some things in there. So go ahead, don't be shy. Just type that up in the chat. And then I'm going to do a reveal for you. So here we go. In Vienna, in front of a museum. Now I ended up cutting those cherubs and superimposing them twice, 2 different layers to make them more visible. A bird in valley, a crane. This is a lake on the border of Vienna and Italy, or Austria and Italy, but I flipped the sun to go to the other side to fit the image more. Someone journaling, and these mountains again from the train, photographed from the train. So if you see here, and I'll be curious to see what you guys thought this would be, but these lights, I wanted them at the extension of the arm so that the cherub sort of the entryway in the portal and guiding towards the light. And you can see as above, so below, basically is the message here. But she's journaling, and her thoughts, her feelings, it could be interpreted in many ways, but the crane is right behind her, and the crane is heading into that portal created by the arch of the museum that was behind the cherubs in that first shot. You can also see the mountains, and even though some of the symbolism, like here are the buildings, they're there, some of the symbolisms may not be clear, but it's always affecting the color, the density, the depth. For the same reason that I like to paint in many layers, it creates a lot of texture and depth in the image that wouldn't be the same as on like a flat animation, like a straight drawing type of thing. So hopefully you got some of that. And I'm just going to go, there we go. And so if you're interested in the intuitive readings themselves, you can find that in the Work With Me tab of my website. I'm going to open up to questions, but also to let you know that there's in my free resources on my website, you can learn about the 12 universal laws. There's also for digital artists, there's a guide, spiritual tips for spiritual photo tips. And so I basically go through the composition and elements of photography, and that's all free, but I add the spiritual layer to it in terms of how that relates. What we do in photography and intuitive photography is also related to how we do intuitive living. And so becoming more adept at your photography can help you with your life. What I learn in the studio and the energy healing I do in the studio and the revelations that come to me in the studio help me in my life. And as I blog every week. And so you can find that on my website too. I share, and that's a way for me to share my art is by letting people know. So let me get out of screen share to see if there's any questions here. Stop share. And I just want to see what some people are seeing. To roam with love, Heron, Vienna. Oh, you got Vienna itself. Sunlight on lake. Okay. I see a wall with opening to a lake, a mountain in the background. Thank you, Kathy. And so the same layered approach to my photography is what has informed the layered approach to painting and painting to photography and also to intuitive living. So in the free resources there, I also have a 75-minute free tutorial on opening up your intuitive channels. So that has nothing to do with art, but it has everything to do with art because your intuition is a gateway to creativity. And so I would love to get some questions from the audience. Thank you, Janice. I'll talk a few minutes while I wait to see if any, yes, Alex Gray, he was one of the inspirations. Also, the group of teachers that I worked with in, as a student, I went to the Vienna Academy of Visionary Art in Vienna for a year as a student there back in 2013-14. And so the work of Alex Gray was instrumental there with some of my teachers. How COVID influenced my art is, and you'll see 3 of those pieces in the Unscripted gallery, is videography. I got myself an iPhone 11 Pro at Christmas time, a little treat for myself, and it has been a wise investment as with COVID, my 2-month artist retreat where I was going to go and get back into sketching and that kind of thing in Ireland got canceled. And I had an art patron here in Newfoundland who manages several Airbnbs, who basically offered me 3-night stays in several of his Airbnbs on the Irish Loop and one in Cape Shore. And then I would take pictures of the Airbnb for his promotion. But then I got passionate about taking videos because I wanted to share the beauty of Newfoundland with all those who are stuck inside. And I dove deep into video making. And so in the gallery here, you'll see one that turned into a prayer project, one that turned into affirmations. But on my YouTube channel or through my website, you'll find them on my blog too. There's 30 to 50 minute beautiful contemplative music with scenes of Newfoundland, of looking through my eyes as an intuitive photographer and now an intuitive videographer. So that has been, COVID's actually thrown me into a lovely opportunity of developing my skills, as well as getting to see parts of Newfoundland I may not have otherwise. So that's been a big thrill. And apart from the festival coming up, there's also a movie premiere at the Lotus Center in St. John's on October 2nd. I just did my first documentary, which is the Tree of Life Sustainability Project and Retreat Center. So it's my first sort of big feature, 1-hour feature with interviews and looking at this very sacred space on Salmon Line. Are you familiar? Okay, any other questions that anyone had? If not, I'm going to throw it back to John, and thanks to everyone listening.
In your work with video and your layering process, are you thinking of combining some of your stills with video?
Yes, my videos are filled with stills and video. So both
but
of them.
I'm thinking more as a layer, to have video over a layer of an image.
I have tried that, and actually the blog post coming out tomorrow morning, Whale Song, I played with that. And when I discovered that, because there's certain things that you can do on I work with iMovie, and so there's a lot that you can do on this little iPhone, and sometimes I do my movies entirely on iPhone, and sometimes I do the iMovie on the computer because there's different layered stuff that I can do there. And so yes, that was such a thrill when I found out I could put the picture of a whale and then the waves behind it, and it was like, oh, that's how they do it. And it just, it lifts the energy. It's just, yeah, so yes to that.
Yeah, it's evident that you really love your work too. So,
well, it's very transformative, not just for myself, but seeing how it's like nourishing other people's transformational journeys, either my paintings or all of what I do, the meditations. There's lots of guided meditations on my YouTube channel too. When you're doing something for yourself to raise your consciousness or your vibration, it helps other people, but also when you're doing things for others, it comes through me. Like, I just believe that my art is coming through me. It's not of me. And so I benefit so much from creating for others, like in these divine storytelling time intuitive readings that I do for others. It's, you know, not only 4 to 6 hours of fun and very early in the morning when I do that, but it's just so inspiring. And to see people change their lives and make decisions based on it, it feels good.
Well, that's good. Well, thank you, Dominic, and thank you to Kat Elliott and Janice Hurtle. I think unless somebody has some questions from the audience on anything, I think we're done for this session. Hopefully next year we'll have a physical gallery space again, because I think that having a physical display sometimes is beneficial, and it's also, I think, easier when we have artist presentations to actually interact with people if they're in the same room as opposed to over a video link. The personal interactions, I think, are very meaningful. So thanks again, and until next year.